Will the UK really be warmer than Greece later this week? Temperatures are on the rise, but it may not surprise you to learn that although it's getting warmer, it's also getting wetter. A big change in the UK's weather over the next few days. We're also going to be looking at the Americas because plus 40 Celsius is possible in Brazil over the next few days, minus 40 Celsius in parts of North America. So huge temperature extremes there. An awful lot to get through in this week's Met Office Deep Dive. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being there. If you could hit the thumbs up, that would be absolutely superb. And please do leave a comment. We read all of the comments and we do love to get your comments and your suggestions as well. Last week's deep dive, the honour did lots of nice thank yous to her. Niall Keogh, Graham Reed, Diane Anderson, Sue Wright, me and mine, 8685, all leaving very nice comments about Honour's deep dive last week. Kilroy76 was asking about last week the jet left exit region. There's another full deep dive all about left exits and right entrances, so go and check that out, Kilroy76. Rupert Higgins 7358, the York Gliding Centre, and Neil B 2793 all asking a similar question about looking back and comparing the different models and finding out which one is the better performing model, and just generally about computer modelling. And yeah, really good suggestions for that. Something we'll definitely be looking at, particularly when our new supercomputer comes fully online later this year. But yeah, they're really good suggestions. We often get people suggesting we look back and compare. So yeah, something we'll be bearing in mind for future deep dives, or even evergreen videos. We're making more and more kind of informative videos. Put one out last week about freezing rain. I'll put the link in the description for that if you're interested. But we're making videos every other week or so. We can only do it because you like what you see. So as I said, give us the thumbs up. The likes and the shares really do matter to us. So yeah, let everyone know that we're on here. We do this deep dive every week, every Tuesday. So all the Met heads need to know about it. Right, okay, lots and lots to talk about this week, isn't there always? But yeah, in particular, we're talking huge temperature swings. Here's the satellite image, and it's shown for the past, well, it feels like about 4 months, but actually it's probably only about 2 weeks. We've been kind of in a battleground. The UK stuck between low pressure systems out in the Atlantic, but not really moving very far. You can see that beautiful swirl there, throwing up cloud close to the UK, fringing in and then not making much progress. And out across mainland Europe, we've got a blocking area of high pressure, and gently it's been feeding easterly winds and cold air our way. Not exceptionally cold, as we've discussed in previous deep dives. There's no beast from the east, but it's certainly been on the chilly side so far through February. So we're in this scrap. And yeah, eventually this week, the low pressure is going to win. So it will be turning wetter, but it is also going to be turning warmer. Look at the temperature rise over the next few days. Some places struggling 4 or 5 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Add on the wind and it feels even colder than that. Let's put the wind chill on, just 1 or 2 degrees on the east coast, feeling even colder in fact for some this afternoon. So yes, it is getting an awful lot warmer over the next few days. By the time we get to Friday, temperatures up into the teens, 15, 16 is just about possible where we see some sunshine. So temperatures by day and by night on the rise. So it's going to be chilly for the next few nights. Pockets of frost here and there, but generally a lot of cloud around. But look at these minimum temperatures. So by Friday, the minimum temperatures are above the maximum temperatures at the moment. So we are going to see a big change. It is turning much milder. It's also going to be turning wetter, as we shall see momentarily. Because while we're on the subject of temperatures, let's take you to another extreme. Nothing extreme about the temperatures we're seeing, just going from a bit below average to a bit above average. But in Brazil, temperatures are pretty extreme. Very high temperatures in Brazil at the moment. Let's take a look at those. If we pan across down to Rio de Janeiro. Wouldn't it be nice to be there at the moment? Well, probably not, because temperatures are high, very high. In fact, if we fast forward to their maximum temperature time this afternoon, we can get up to probably 35, 36 degrees. Yeah, there we go, 36 degrees, 7 o'clock UK time. So that's their maximum time. Temperatures in Rio de Janeiro, 36 degrees Celsius, and that is above average for the time of year. Their February record actually is 39.1 Celsius. We might get a little bit higher than 36, so not far off record breaking. And temperatures in this area here also very high, that heat building. And if anything here, although it does get a little cooler in Rio, temperatures in Brasilia up to 28, and these areas just to the north staying in the low 30s over the next couple of days. The highest temperature for Brasilia is close to 32 for February. That's their February record. So again, not far off record breaking. The heat in these areas persisting for the next few days. Doesn't sound that much, but they don't get huge variations, and those temperatures are a few degrees above average. And it's not just about the heat, it's the humidity as well. So very warm, very humid air being created by high pressure squashing the air down. If we take a look at what's going on higher up in the sky and the jet stream, let's take a look at the jet down across the south. Let's zoom out a little bit. You can see that the jet, that's maybe a bit too far. The jet, let's take a look from the pole. So there's the south pole. You can see the jet, the southern jet, just wobbling around it. Notice it is quite wobbly. There's probably, 5 peaks and troughs? So it's kind of 5 waves are going around the south pole in terms of the jet. Whoa, it's gone a bit crazy. The power, I can spin the Earth. It's amazing. There's also the subtropical jet, which is further north as well. So with the jet dipping like this, you've got a ridge of high pressure in here. And it's this high pressure that's been sitting around for a number of days, and then another high builds in here. If we fast forward to Thursday, another high pressure building in here. And it's that high pressure that's dominating, keeping the skies clear by day. A lot of insulation coming down, and also this high pressure means the air is getting squished, so it's that compression which also helps to build the temperatures day on day, as well as the sun's high in the sky, and it's a hot time of year generally, so it's the back end of their summer. So they are going to see some very high temperatures in this part of the world. It is also really humid as well. There's issues with water supplies. Some parts of the favelas are being reportedly out of water as well. So this is pretty unusual for this part of the world to see this temperature. The temperatures in this zone staying very hot and staying very humid from Sao Paulo to Rio up to Brasilia, and this inland area where the temperatures will continue to rise over the next few days in particular. So temperatures may drop off in Rio and Sao Paulo, but in Brasilia and inland we're seeing the temperatures significantly above the average. And this is the forecast extreme, the extreme forecast index from the European computer model, the ECMWF, and anything in the red here is showing extremes in the 90th to 100th percentile. So that is pretty extreme, the heat in this part of the world over the next few days. So yes, it's been very hot, but the heat will continue to build. Obviously, heavily populated cities like Sao Paulo and Rio and Brasilia as well. Belo Horizonte as well. So these temperatures are pretty unusual for the time of year. Extreme temperatures, and of course you've got that high heat index. The humidity is also pretty high. So that is something we need to keep an eye on over the next few days. We will now go to North America, where the opposite is true. Now, I showed you the jet stream from the southern hemisphere, from the South Pole. This is now looking down from the North Pole. This is not showing the winds, this is showing the dew point, but you can see the cold outbreaks. So that's the North Pole there. Just about make out North America. There's Florida poking out there. It's always good to find out these bits that poke out. There's Scandinavia poking out there, and then Japan is around here. So you've got these kind of quite noticeable 3 cold pools dipping to the south, and that's because the jet's in a 3-wave pattern. You can see the 3 peaks and troughs there. So whereas we've got more like 5 or 6 waves in the southern hemisphere, there's 3 here, and the fewer the waves in the jet going round, then the more amplified the pattern is, and the more extreme, so that the warmer areas going further north and the colder areas going further south. So you have more wobbles, if you like, or more extremes of wobbles, but fewer of them around the northern hemisphere. That cold air is driving south across North America. Now, we had some extreme weather in North America over the course of the weekend with heavy rain and a cold outbreak, and a similar thing is now happening. If we go over to North America, take a look at the jet stream. Notice how it's powering out of North America, and that's kind of fueling the change for the UK over the coming days as well. But I'll talk more about that in a moment. First of all, let's look at what's going on here, because the jet is weakening, but then we've got this plunge, this trough, this dip in the jet. High pressure here, winds going clockwise around the high pressure, so drawing down a lot of cold air. Down here we've got tropical air. Where the cold air hits the tropical air, you generate uplift and you generate a weather system, and that's where we're going to see some further heavy rain and heavy snow. And those temperatures, what should we put on? Let's show the temperature contrast. So there's the cold air sinking south. Take the jet off for now. The cold air pushing south, meeting that warmer air, and in here breeding ground for an area of low pressure, and we are going to see some wet weather. Take the temperatures off, just generated in here. Doesn't look much at the moment, but over the next day or so it spins up into an area of low pressure, heavy rain and heavy snow on its northern flank. Heavy snow and some freezing rain likely, and again affecting these southeastern states that have been pretty badly hit over recent days, and then dropping quite a lot of heavy rain in and around the Panhandle up towards the Carolinas. Some heavy snow in here. This is the end of Wednesday and into Thursday. So further heavy snow, further heavy rain to come. So it's another one of those multi-hazard events, as we call them, across the United States with rain and snow. And then the cold air in place behind it, really cold air. So we're going to see those extremes. Let's look at the temperatures in terms of the extreme. So this is the opposite in terms of the temperatures. We're now in the percentile, the 90th to the 100th percentile in terms of low temperatures across North America. Again, there's the Panhandle down to Mexico here. There's California. And in this zone, temperatures for the next, so that's for the next 72 hours, next 3 days. The magenta colours there, close to that 100th percentile. So extremes of temperatures. And let's actually put them on if we can, if I can remember where they are. They're in here. Very cold air pushing its way south across into North America. So these are some of the numbers. Bismarck's minus 36, I think. I can take that off, actually. Yes, take those off. Yeah, minus 36 in Bismarck, which is close to record breaking. This first thing this morning, those dark blue colours, extremely cold air pushing its way southwards. Just to the south, I think just to the south of Bismarck, they found a minus 41 degrees Celsius, and temperatures all in this area well below the average and pushing some records for that extreme cold. If we fast forward to Friday, though, temperatures are really on the way up. I mean, still at what's that, probably 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, still well below freezing, but it is quite a big jump compared to what it's going to be this morning. So it is going to slowly turn milder here, but stay on the cold side. But that cold air is pushing quite far south. Look at there, Houston, 2 degrees, it's right in the south of the United States, and places further north below freezing, well below. So that cold air is really pushing quite far south across the United States, helping to drive that low pressure system that will bring further heavy rain, snow and freezing rain. So yeah, some extremes of cold across North and South America. Another place that's going to see some colder conditions is the Eastern Mediterranean, because temperatures are falling away here. And again, if we look at the, let's actually start with what's going on with the jet stream. Not particularly powerful jet, but it is dipping down to the south. We've got this trough in here. Generally weaker areas of high pressure sitting across Europe. That's what's been helping to drive the easterly for us. But high in the sky, the jet stream dipping to the south, and the cold air is pooling in here. And that cold air is going to push further south over the next few days. If we fast forward, see how that colder air is dipping south. There's Turkey, there's the Black Sea, Bulgaria, Romania. Notice how the colder air is pushing even down across parts of Greece. So we're really going to see a dip in the temperatures here. Now, the Greek Weather Service have actually named this system, even though it doesn't really look that stormy. It doesn't look like a storm, does it? But they've named it because it's going to bring some very low temperatures for the time of year. It will bring some snow and also some gusty winds. But the gusty winds being caused by the isobars kind of squeezing together there. So around the area of high pressure, the winds are going to be coming down from the north. So that is going to generate temperatures well below the average for the time of year. So much colder air heading down to this part of the world. There will be some snow flurries too. In fact, let's zoom in a little bit and put the put the actual surface winds on. You can see these surface winds now coming down over the Black Sea, straight down from the north. Now, what that's going to do is bring cold air and over a relatively warm sea. The temperatures in the sea here, about +7, +8 degrees Celsius in the Black Sea. So what that does, cold air comes south, it travels over some warmer water, it picks up that moisture because it warms up the bottom layer, it starts to rise, so it picks up moisture, and then as it hits the land on the other side, it dumps it all as snow. So this is kind of like lake effect snow. So lake effect snow, what you get in the Great Lakes in the United States when you get cold northerly air stream coming down. It picks up that moisture over the Great Lakes as it's warmer over the water. Then as soon as it hits land again, it dumps it down as snow. And that's what we're going to see here. Some quite hefty snow flurries coming into parts of Turkey and Romania over the next couple of days. Let's take the temperatures off and show the snow building up here. You can see that line of it there, just picking up. As it picks up the moisture, drops it. Often right on the shore, you get rain, and then just a few miles inland, you get snow. So you can see that kind of lake effect snow as that northerly wind picks up the moisture from the Black Sea and dumps large amounts of snow across Turkey, parts of Romania and Bulgaria as well. Not huge amounts of snow for Greece, although there will be some over the hills and the mountains, but that northerly wind is really going to bring a chill here over the next few days. So let's look at those temperatures. We're starting off today, 18 degrees in Cyprus, 16 in Corfu, 14 in Athens. Fast forward to Thursday and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so about their maximum temperature time really. No, it's a bit late, isn't it? Let's give them an hour or so earlier, but only single figures in Athens. Paphos down to 16. By the time we get to Saturday at 4 o'clock, Paphos is 12, Athens is 5, Corfu is 11. Remember what the UK temperatures are going to be on Friday and probably into Saturday into double figures. So yeah, we're going to be on a similar temperature note to Greece through the weekend. Certainly likely to be much warmer than Athens as we go into the weekend. And many places, certainly on Friday, will be warmer than Corfu and Cyprus. But of course, we will also be wetter, as we shall see in a moment. How unusual is this in this part of the world? Well, it's not as extreme. So again, this is the extreme forecast index from the European computer model, where you're comparing what's happening now to the modelled climatological average. And it's showing up here, Greek islands in here, there's Cyprus in here, showing at 50th, 60th percentile. So it's actually not that unusual. And there was a similar outbreak just a couple of years ago that was actually more extreme, and the temperatures were even lower. But notice further north into parts of Turkey, we are getting up to the 80th, 90th percentile. So it's more unusual, the cold here, that it is going to be further south. But it's also going to be cold in it's not just confined to European temperatures. If we fast forward to Saturday and look at those temperatures in Damascus, down into single figures. So that again is about 5 or 6 degrees below the average, and that's the daytime temperatures. The nighttime temperatures will be lower than that. But let's fast forward through to, yeah, so there we go. Sunday morning down to 2s and 3s. That's Damascus. You can imagine the surrounding areas will be around or below freezing, and that's going to really impact the humanitarian effects that are going on in this part of the world at the moment as well. So that is something we need to keep a close eye on as that cold air plunges south over the coming days. So yeah, unusual but not exceptional in that part of the world. And yeah, again, unusual that it's going to be colder than the UK. In fact, let's put on the temperature, showing you the UK temperatures. But if we just take that off and put that one on, that one even, and let's do a comparison of those temperatures across Europe. I'll show you what the maxes are going to be doing in, let's find Paphos, shall we? Is that Paphos? Oh, nailed it. So that's the temperatures in Paphos, dipping down to 14 degrees Celsius, the minimum there as well. And other parts further north, we can find some really low temperatures just to the north of Bucharest. Temperatures really dropping down. The maximums there, minus 20 degrees Celsius by the time we get to, when's that, Friday. So that cold air in place, but then it does get quite a bit milder. And just one more thing I want to show you, because the temperature contrast is going to be quite huge. Zoom right out. Talked about the cold air in the United States. let's just show the temperatures there over the next few days, because they are really going to drop and then rise again. So if we just find somewhere down here, is that into Texas? Amarillo, there we go. Show me the way to Amarillo first time. These are the maxima over the next few days. -6 is the max in Amarillo, rising to +21. The mins -18 for the next couple of nights, rising to above freezing by the time we get into next week. So yeah, cold blast in the States, particularly so a long way south in Amarillo before temperatures do start to rise. Okay, that's enough on the global temperatures. Let's concentrate a little bit more about what's going on in the UK, because we've already talked about it getting milder. But what's going on with the bigger picture? Well, if you watch the deep dive, then you know what it's all about. It's all about this fella, the jet stream, an energized jet stream powering out of the United States, in part powered by that temperature contrast. Certainly a couple of days ago that generated that one storm, and then it's picked up the jet stream. Now, finally, these low pressure systems that have been milling around out in the Atlantic, not doing very much, are given a bit of welly, and they're given a push, and they are moving in towards the UK. So we are going to see the jet stream driving low pressure systems up to us, and those weather fronts are going to be producing outbreaks of rain, and the winds are going to be strengthening as well. So let's have a look at what that means for our weather. Well, at the moment we've got the southeasterly, which is why it's chilly, a lot of clouds across Scotland, but actually it's a decent day out there for a good part of England and Wales. Yeah, it's a bit gusty. Notice these winds picking up actually and bouncing a little bit over the hills. So we'll notice that this evening, Tuesday evening, across parts of North Devon and North and West Wales and the northwest of Northern Ireland. Some unusually strong gusts in here because the air is bouncing over the hills, and it's quite an unusual wind direction. Fast forward to Wednesday, the fronts are starting to move in. Wednesday's the transition day, if you like. So still 5s and 6s across the east, but 10s, maybe 11s down to the southwest. That's where the warmer air is really trying to push in. And by the time we get to Thursday, well, it is in double digits across the board. Well, except northeast Scotland, still at 9s, but that's still above average. 13, 14 degrees Celsius, but yes, it's accompanied by weather fronts and outbreaks of rain. So the rain is going to be pushing in slowly but surely. And Friday's quite a lively day. The wind's really picking up in that southerly wind, so areas again bouncing over the hills, but also just generally as the isobars squidge together in here behind that cold front, the winds will increase, and that rain band going to be moving across the country as well. So let's look at what that means for rainfall totals. They're going to be building up over the next few days. If we put the 24-hour rolling rainfall totals on, just play that through. Patchy rain around here and there, but notice the first weather system creeping into that rain, just adding up a little bit on Wednesday and into Thursday. Nothing too heavy, nothing too extreme about that. But if we fast forward into Thursday, then that rain is pepping up, the darker blues into the west. And by the time we get to Friday, then we get another pulse of rain. So again, just layering up. Notice still parts of the east at this stage. We'll just pause it there. The parts of these not seeing much rain. So yeah, it is getting wetter in the west, but actually not too wet. Parts of these not going to see huge amounts of rain through this week. Mostly focused in the west. Saturday's a drier day, but then we get Sunday, you get another layer in there as well. So these dark blues, you can almost pick out the hills and the mountains with that. With the winds coming in from the south, southwest, it's always these hills and mountains facing that direction that are going to bear the brunt. So South Wales, the moors of the southwest, the hills of North Wales and southwest Scotland. Just zoom in a little bit, there's a hint of yellow in there, which would be over 100 millimetres. Generally, we're talking between 50 and 100 millimetres of rain across these western hills. That could, because I know it's been dry, it's been pretty dry of late, but those kind of rainfall totals do need to be watched because it has been quite a wet spell so far through this year, through this winter. So it hasn't had time. Things don't dry out very much in February. There's not a lot of sun power. So although, yes, we've not seen much falling from the sky for the past couple of weeks, the ground is still very, very soggy. So these kind of rainfall amounts do need watching as we see these weather systems coming in. Spells of rain, one after another, basically through the next few days, although Saturday does look a little bit drier if you've got plans. So yeah, rainfall totals really building up as we go through the next few days, particularly in these western areas with that rain, particularly over those western hills as the weather system continues to move its way in. Let's look at the winds now. I've already talked about the winds, but just notice one thing I want to show you here. It's just that subtle difference. So the flow generally coming in from the south-southeast at the moment. That's why it's so chilly on those North Sea coasts. By the time we get to Friday, it's not even really that much of a southwest. It's more of a southerly or a slight west in that south. So you're only changing the wind by 50, 60 degrees, something like that. And it makes such a huge difference. It's not like it's a 180-degree change. You're only subtly changing, and it's all because instead of coming from the landmass, you're now coming in from the sea. And that subtle shift, it does make such a big difference to the temperatures and the feel of the weather in general. Let's look at those feels-like temperatures, as I said. Or temperatures, let's compare them to the average. What we're doing, temperature, yeah, so this is the temperature. Is this the temperature compared? This is what I want to show, yeah. So these are the temperatures compared to 24 hours earlier. So this is Thursday. We talked about that cold southeasterly breeze bringing that chill to eastern areas. Look at the jump in temperatures between Thursday and Wednesday. So on Wednesday, it's Northern Ireland, Wales, southwest England that will see the difference. So again, these are the temperatures compared to today. Wednesday's temperatures compared to today. So we're jumping up by 3 degrees in this zone here. Many other areas staying the same. But on Thursday, it doesn't get much warmer here. But in this zone here, it is significantly warm. We've jumped up quite a lot. So by the time we get to Friday, well, most places are going to be the same because temperatures Thursday and Friday are not too different. And then by the time to get to Saturday, it actually starts to turn a little bit cooler across some parts of the UK with highs of 10, 11, 12. But even that is above average for the time of year. So yeah, quite interesting temperature swings over the next few days. I'll be interested to see what happens. As for the outlook, well, we're looking at southwesterly winds basically for the next few days. Low pressure systems piling up there. That's the main weather pattern as we go into the weekend. Low pressure. Actually, that's the main one, isn't it? So that's the main one that we're seeing at the moment, the more southwesterly with a low sitting here, southwesterly wind trap. But we're changing gradually. The darker blues take over. The dates going along the bottom. So we're gradually taking over to the darker, which is more westerly dominated, with a low further to the northeast and more of a westerly wind flow. And that then dominates for much of next week, certainly the early part of next week, dominated by southwesterly winds. That means it's going to be mild. There'll be spells of rain, showery interludes in between. Temperatures are going to be above average, and that's how we go into next week. But Mr. McGee will have more on that in the 10-day trend tomorrow, no doubt. One thing I wanted to look at really quickly before we wrap up, February so far. Won't surprise you to know that it has been quite a dull month. Now, this is the sunshine compared to the whole of the month, and we're only 18 days in, so you wouldn't expect this to be showing the average. You'd expect it to be grey, but it is very grey. We're mostly in this percentile between the 30th and 50th. So most parts of the UK are this kind of third shade of grey, which is between 30 and 50%. Now, for this time of the month, we'd normally expect 60, 61% of the average. So you would expect it to be grey, but you'd expect it to be the second shade of grey here. But it's the third shade of grey. And some parts, South Wales, parts of South West England, lower than 30% of their average average sunshine. But I wanted to show you this because look at this. Western Isles had a beautiful February. So yeah, whilst a good chunk of the country, most places have been very glummer than average, parts of northwestern Scotland, the mainland, Skye, the Outer Hebrides have been quite a bit sunnier than average and have already seen more than their February average in terms of sunshine. So that was quite an interesting chart. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor that over the next few days because things are going to change. This graph is definitely going to change. This is showing the rainfall amount in February, how it has been a very dry month so far. This is the cumulative rainfall so far for February 2025. This is the average line here, so that's how far below the average we are. Close to the 10th percentile here, a long way from the record-breaking dry February, but you know, it has been a dry month so far. That is obviously going to uptick over the next few days as we start to see the wetter weather coming in, and another graph that is going to have an uptick in the coming days, the temperature one. So I want to show you this because it's been quite a month of two halves, really. This is the temperature, the maximum temperature cumulative through the month, and actually the first few days were above average and then they started to drop, and we are now back below the average line here. But again, that is going to rise as we head through the next few days, because it's turning milder and it is turning wetter. Right, that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive. Hope you liked it. Interested to know your feedback on going more global. We've had comments in the past saying that people like us to look at other stories from around the world, so that's one of the reasons why we covered that through the day today. But plenty going on with the weather, so do keep up to date. Best way to do that, of course, is to hit subscribe, and then you'll get all of our forecasts, 3 daily updates. The 10-day trends tomorrow with Aidan, that'll be an interesting one as well. So yeah, make sure you hit subscribe. If you could hit that thumbs up button, that would be doing us a massive, massive favour. And do leave all your comments. We do try and read them all. We do try and respond. We can answer some of the questions, maybe in a deep dive, maybe on our live broadcasts that we do every Friday. Don't forget to tune into that at 12:15, or we have a quiz every Friday as well. And further suggestions for any other videos, always very, very welcome indeed. So thank you very much for watching. Share the love. Let everyone know that we're on here and we do this every Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Well done for getting to the end of this week's deep dive. You must be a proper Met head, in which case you'll want to know all about all of our other videos, including this one that dropped last week, all about freezing rain. Check it out, why it's so dangerous, why it's quite rare in the UK, but what implications it can have when we see freezing rain in the forecast.